Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend because she's friends with a guy who cheated with her? My girlfriend has this male friend. Let's call him Mike. Mike is recently divorced. The other night, I was hanging out with some of my girlfriend's friends. My girlfriend wasn't there, by the way. One of her friends brought up Mike and how the divorce has been hard on him. Another friend said it was his own damn fault for sleeping with girlfriend's name. I was like, whoa, what? I asked for more details, and turns out Mike slept with my girlfriend while he was married. His wife found out, and then they divorced. This happened about a year and a half ago. I've been with my girlfriend for about a year. I talked to my girlfriend the next time I saw her. I took a couple days to digest the information. I did text her that I needed some time for myself, and I'll talk to her when I'm ready. Next time we meet up, I decided to break up with her. See, she's still close friends with Mike, as they hang out regularly, both group and one-on-one. I wasn't crazy about it, but I figured I should trust my girlfriend. Until now. I realized I was too uncomfortable with her friendship now, as well as the fact she never mentioned this to me. She asked why, and I told her the truth. I told her I don't like that she's friends with Mike with this new information, and that I wasn't gonna tell her who she can be friends with, but I'm not gonna be part of this. My girlfriend yelled at me and said that if I ask, she would stop hanging out with Mike. I still decided to break up, but to be honest, I don't think my girlfriend would take me back even if I changed my mind at that moment. I guess my question is twofold. Am I the a-hole for my reason to break up with her? And am I the a-hole for not asking her to cut off Mike or giving her a chance to? It's a bit late now, but I'd still like to know. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Good move. If dude was sleeping with a girl while he was married, what do you think is gonna happen when he is now divorced and girlfriend is still hanging out with him one-on-one, which is pretty much a date in every continent? And she's yelling at you for feeling WTF? She deserved to be dumped. That is the kind of thing that should have been done long ago on a girlfriend's part. Before being exclusive with OP, she should have shared this information with him and cut Mike off on her own. The fact that she not only helped him cheat on his wife, it was an active reason for the marriage crumbling, coupled with how she still continues to hang out with him one-on-one, is more than enough reason to break up and never look back. Her morals are not in the right place. That's a very bad quality in a potential partner. This right here. OP was never given a chance to make an informed decision. Girlfriend lied by omission and held that lie for a year. Any reasonable person would have liked to have known the information she withheld, especially since she never ended the relationship and even indulged in one-on-one dates. OP is definitely not the a-hole. The timeline is pretty telling too. Ex-girlfriend gets caught cheating with Mike a year and a half ago. Mike gets divorced, ex-girlfriend gets boyfriend. 10-1 that Mike and ex-girlfriend gets together within a couple months, and OP was being used as a buffer boyfriend so that ex-girlfriend doesn't look like a homewrecker. I think you're right, outside of the fact that everyone already knows she's a homewrecker. Nothing she does can erase that label, cutting Mike off included. I can promise you right now, if you have began with, I know what you did with Mike. If you want this relationship to work, you need to cut him loose. Should have had a hissy fit and said you're controlling and insecure. You took that whole conversation out of the equation and dropped her. Hence, her insistence that she'd have dropped him as a friend if you ask. You dodged a bullet, my friend. This woman is a low-class woman. The fact that she was willing to sleep with a married man is ample evidence that she'd do the same to you as well. Yeah, OP, you were extremely cruel to her. You just not only dumped her, but took away from her the joy of calling, maybe screaming at you, as controlling and insecure. Also, you destroyed her opportunity to lecture you about how you don't have the right to ask about her past or learn her body count, even if one of these bodies was a married man who she's still friends with and go in dates with him. How dare you? Wow, what a cruel and awful male you are. Next story. Am I the a-hole for immediately dumping my girlfriend because she lied? So, a bit of context. I, male 24, had been dating my now ex-female 21, who will be referred to as Kate, for roughly 1.5 years up to this point a few days ago. Having dealt with getting cheated on in high school, I made it very clear to her that I tolerate no level of cheating, and any which case would immediately end our relationship. She stays out of state from me, but not terribly far at only 45 minutes drive between us, so we see each other every other week as we both work and I'm in college. She informed me a few weeks prior that she had a friend coming into town and that he wanted some weed, but they're a medical-only state, while I'm in a recreational state. So in turn, I give her some pre-rolls to give to him once he gets into town. Now at this point, I have no sense of mistrust in Kate at all. She told a get down about how they were gonna link for a gym session and he'd grab the joints, and that'd be it. I haven't bothered to ask for his name, what he looks like, etc. All I knew is that they went to high school together, they hadn't seen each other in a couple years, and he was coming into town to visit family at no exact date. Now to what happened. A few days ago, I was getting plans ready for a date we had set up the next day. Kate told me she had to work this day, so I was tasked with all the planning. I was texting Kate about it, trying to set up time frames of when she'd be here, where to eat, etc. This is when I noticed her Snapchat location was turned off. This is concerning because she's never had it off, and we share each other's locations at all given times. I ask her what's the deal, and she says she turned it off for safety concerns since she didn't want everyone seeing it all the time anymore. This confused me, since she can choose to just share it with me alone. I just pushed it aside as me being paranoid until she didn't respond back to my texts for 2 hours. Now for most, this wouldn't raise any concern as she is at work, she could be busy, etc. But she works at a small food spot and they have never been busy enough to the point she doesn't respond for 2 hours. And she had always been telling me about how they don't have a lot of business. Fast forward another hour as I was leaving a workout sesh, I see that she still hadn't replied. I don't know how, but I get a sinking gut feeling that something's off. There's too many red flags to ignore, so I make a decision to take the 45-minute drive all the way to her job. When I get there, I don't see her car outside. I can't write it off yet as she's gotten sent home early before due to slow business, so I drive to her house. She's not there either. Now I'm alarmed. To be sure, I drive all the way back to her job and walk inside to ask one of the staff working up front if Kate had been into work today. They say no. At this point, I'm mad, and I let it get the best of me. Once I step outside, I immediately text her that I never want to see her face ever again, and I drive home. In this hastiness, I forget that same food spot has a second location, and that she's sometimes been staffed there, but hasn't been recently, which is why it slips my mind. I get home and I'm still pissed, but I realize I could have been wrong and acted out too soon. Until she finally responds to my texts, right at 10:07 p.m. that she just got off work. This added to my level of suspicion because the main location I've visited that she works at closes at 10 p.m., but the second location closes at 9. She's asking what I meant by the last text and called me once, which I declined. At this point, I still needed to close all doors to be sure of myself, so I decided to call her back. I'm under the impression that she doesn't know I stopped by her job, so I keep it that way. I ask her why she has not been responding to me, and she gives me a comical excuse about how her boss got mad at her coworker for being on their phone, so he told them they couldn't use their phones on shift anymore. I knew this was a BS excuse, but I needed to catch her slip up. So I trail it to a normal conversation about her day, until she slips up and says that she'd only been working at the main store this whole pay period. And that sealed it. I caught her in a lie and finally decided to ask her the real questions, which went like this. Me: so Kate, so where were you actually at all day? Kate: what do you mean? I was at work all day. Me: I drove to your job and you weren't there. Again: where were you actually at? Kate: I was in the back kitchen with the cooks. Me: I asked your coworker and they said you didn't work today. So where were you actually at all day? Kate: silence. And I hung up after about 10 seconds of silence. That was it. I had emotionally checked out at that point and was no longer interested in what she had to say. She tried to call me and texted me saying to let her explain, and she said that yes, she had been hanging out with her friend all day, but nothing happened. She said that they had gone to the gym, gotten some lunch, and then decided to get a motel room to smoke some of the joints because his family didn't like him smoking weed, and they didn't want to smoke in their cars either. I didn't want to hear any of it. She had lied to me 5 times already, and I gave her every opportunity to tell me the truth. She lied and expects me to believe anything else she has to say? Yeah, I'm good on that. Her friend even decided to text me trying to explain it and wanted to apologize about trying to do me like that. This just ticks me off even more, like, oh, so you both knew and were trying to play me like a fool. He's trying to convince me about how much she cares about me, trying to have a man-to-man discussion. Meanwhile, Kate is trying to talk about how much she's afraid to lose me and stuff. I told Kate that I didn't want to hear any of it anymore and that I want to just end it right there and now. Told her I wouldn't even badmouth her to our mutual friends or anything, but that I never wanted to see her again. And that's that. She's not tried to contact me any further since that night, and neither has her friend. She took down our couple's photos on all her social media, and so now I've had some of our mutuals come through trying to convince me to talk to her and work things out, but I've shut them all down. They keep saying that I don't know for certain if Kate and her friend actually did anything, which is true, but in my mind, lying to your significant other about being at work to spend a day with someone they know next to nothing about is cheating. Am I the a-hole for overreacting? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, no overreaction here, and you should be proud in how you handled it. Well said. It is irrelevant if something happened between her and her friend or not. If nothing happened and she can lie that much about nothing, how much would she lie about something? Opie made a smart choice to let someone else find the answer to this question. She slept with her friend. No one rents a smoking room at a motel just to smoke joints, especially when it's not recreational in their state. And I'm sure motels would prefer you to not smoke in the motel room. Not the a-hole. I have never in my life heard of people renting a motel room to smoke a joint. Lol. Exactly what I said, but I was so over her I didn't bother to call her out or anything. Yeah, just move on. Stay focused on school and such. Women come and go, no big deal at this age. Not the a-hole. She cheated, bro. I dabble in funky lettuce. No one rents a freaking motel room to get high. Plus, what's worse is she got Opie to provide us smokes. I like to think I'm not that insecure, but if my girlfriend asked me to provide pre-rolls so she can smoke them with an old male friend in a motel room, I just laugh. Not the a-hole. She knew she was doing wrong, so she lied. If she was on the up and up, there'd have been no reason to lie. Now it seems like she's trying to truth trickle you, my guy. You trusted her until she gave you a reason not to. That's all anyone can ask. You made it clear where your boundaries were, and she started playing games real fast. You can do better. Keep your stick on the ice. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I don't give a damn how she drives when it's just her and her kids in the car, but if me or our kids are in it, she must be safe? My wife had 2 kids before we got married, and they have an actively involved father. We have had 2 children of our own. My wife is a terrible driver, but she refuses to acknowledge this. She has been in multiple accidents and even had her license suspended. Not for a DUI or anything, just because she's an awful driver. She will do stuff like reach into the back seat to deal with a kid, rather than either pull over or let me or one of the older kids deal with it. She got T-boned in August last year because she took her foot off the brake at a red light to pick up my son's soother that had fallen out. She didn't put the car in park. Thankfully, only she was injured. All 4 kids were in the car. I have had it. I told her that she is welcome to endanger herself and her kids, but that if I'm in the car or if our children are in the car, she will keep her eyes on the road and her hands on the steering wheel. She is finally at the point in her rehab where she can drive again. I reminded her of what I said. I told her that I loved her. I said that her older kids were important to me and that I love them too. But I told her that if she ever decided to do stupid stuff while driving, our relationship would be over. And I would make it part of our divorce that she not be allowed to drive with my kids in the car. She started crying and said she didn't do it on purpose. I asked her how exactly she took her hands off the wheel, took off her seatbelt, took her foot off the brake, and turned around to pick up the soother by accident. She said that I'm treating her like an idiot. I don't think I am. My children have to be safe. Before you ask, I try and do as much of the driving as I possibly can. I have stopped drinking when we go out. I traded in my car that I loved for an SUV, so there is room for all of us. I offered to pay for Uber, so she didn't have to drive if I wasn't available. She actually likes driving. Her ex and her parents are on my side. He also told her that if she ever thinks about endangering his kids, he would either go for full custody or ask that she be barred from driving with his kids in a car. Her parents have threatened to stop helping her pay her stupid high insurance premiums. She thinks we are being unfair because she loves her kids and would never intentionally harm them. She just loses concentration when one of the kids needs something and doesn't think to ask for help. She said that I'm treating her like an idiot. Well, what did she expect? She is behaving like an idiot, to be honest. Her intention, doing it on purpose or not, is not relevant here. She shouldn't be driving at all, since she's putting other people at risk. But clearly she shouldn't drive the children. That is the least you can demand. There comes a point where intentionality as a concept sort of breaks down. Maybe she is having the subjective experience of not feeling like she's doing it on purpose, I don't know. But she has been presented with such an overwhelming amount of evidence and testimony from her own family that her actions are endangering herself and her kids, that any reasonable person, and plenty of unreasonable ones, would have gotten the message. If she doesn't believe it, that's on her. In a way, it's actually worse. If a person is so deeply delusional that this degree of evidence is available and she still doesn't feel at fault, she's just straight up dangerous. And probably in way more scenarios than just this one. How far gone do you have to be to not see that your actions are causing this? What else in your life are you this delusional about? My aunt was like this, very nice but oblivious to anything around her. She did not teach her kids to stop and think. One of my cousins died young from something avoidable if he had been taught. OP's wife is careless in other ways most likely. It's a matter of time until someone gets hurt. Intentional or not, her actions are selfish. You're treating her like an idiot because, now hear me out here, she is an idiot. What mature responsible adult pulls that crap while driving? If losing her license and being in multiple accidents wasn't enough to show her that she has a serious problem, I doubt your threat will either. Every time she does one of those stupid actions, she is intentionally harming her kids, or potentially harming them. She could have fixed this long ago. She's just too lazy and in denial to do anything about it. You and her ex should both put your foot down. No more driving unless she's the only person in the car. Period. No exceptions. Any breach of that agreement will be grounds for leaving. By giving her more chances, you are continuing to endanger your kids. Not the a-hole, but don't let this slide. Came here to say this. OP is trying to be too nice. She needs to understand she has been an idiot.